Your brain is being hijacked. But don't worry, there's a simple way to reclaim control. Have you ever felt that invisible barrier between you and the one thing you know you should be doing? That constant pull towards distraction? Well, you're not alone, and there's a fascinating reason why. You're listening to Bookmark, 30-Men Bookshelf, a BetweenThoughts production.
Today we're taking a deep dive into Thibaut Meurisse's Dopamine Detox. It's a guide that really unpacks why our brains often feel so restless and, well, overstimulated. And it offers a pretty straightforward path, actually, to reclaiming our attention in a world that just seems designed to pull it in every direction.
Yeah, it really does feel like that sometimes. So, our mission in this deep dive, we want to explore how modern life keeps us constantly distracted. Maybe why our ability to focus feels like such a scarce commodity these days. And then introduce a simple but honestly powerful method to remove that relentless overstimulation. The goal really is to help you feel truly motivated for the tasks that genuinely matter. Think of this as a shortcut to understanding the core ideas of the dopamine detox, helping you move from that state of constant, kind of scattered stimulation to one of deep, focused productivity.
Exactly. It's almost like an invitation, isn't it? An invitation to find some clarity, maybe enter a bit of a sanctuary where that overstimulation loosens its grip and focus can begin to bloom again.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our first focus insight, it revolves around dopamine itself. Because for many of us, that word dopamine, it immediately brings up ideas of pleasure, right? We link it to rewards, feeling good. But the surprising truth is, it's actually widely misunderstood.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, I think, is how our evolutionary wiring, which, was perfectly designed for survival way back when, gets subtly twisted in our modern world. Dopamine isn't actually the pleasure chemical. Not really. Instead, it's the molecule of anticipation. It's what gives us that initial spark, that desire to act, to pursue something we think will be rewarding. You could almost call it the fundamental force that makes us act. It's crucial for our survival, even reproduction.
Huh. So anticipation, not pleasure itself.
Precisely. And here's the quiet truth most of us kind of forget, or maybe never realized. That feeling of emptiness or unfulfillment, it often comes after we get the reward we were chasing, not before.
Wow. So it's not the high itself, but the constant chase that really drives us. That makes so much sense when you think about daily life, actually.
Yeah.
We're sort of perpetually seeking that next hit, often without even realizing it. I mean, think about your own patterns, right? That almost addictive pull towards highly stimulating things like endless video game sessions, maybe, or just constantly refreshing social media feeds, or even just checking emails again and again. It feels like we can lose self-control, constantly wanting that next hit.
Exactly. And the more we actively seek out and engage with these really intense stimuli, the more our brains adapt. They actually start requiring even more stimulation to feel that initial spark of desire, which leads to this state where we always want more, but we're never quite satisfied. And this elevated state, this constant seeking, it makes tasks that need sustained concentration incredibly difficult. It leads directly to procrastination.
Right, because the boring stuff just can't compete, can it?
Not at all. Those highly stimulating activities might give you a temporary buzz, sure, but they rarely bring lasting happiness or any kind of genuine fulfillment.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. This leads us to our next reset principle. Understanding how our brains are being hijacked, because this powerful molecule of anticipation, it isn't just working on its own, is it? It's constantly being, exploited and manipulated.
Indeed. It's a really good way to put it. Dopamine, often called the engine of desire, thrives on continuous reward. But here's the catch. Its continuous release actually strengthens our tolerance, meaning we need stronger and stronger stimuli just to get the same basic response. Now, this is the core mechanism behind many addictions, obviously, but it's not just limited to hard drugs or anything like that. It applies just as much to things like gambling, compulsive shopping, even excessive exercise, or becoming a workaholic.
Wow, so it's a much broader mechanism.
Absolutely. Your focus, you see, it's a scarce asset. And marketers, companies all over the world, they spend billions trying to capture it. Think about it, apps, social media platforms, they are meticulously, carefully designed to hook you. They use sophisticated algorithms, constant notifications, all designed to keep you trapped in these never-ending feedback loops.
Oh yeah, you know that feeling, right? That little red notification pops up and suddenly, bam, an hour has just vanished. You've been scrolling without even really thinking about it. It almost feels like instead of us consciously directing our time online, the internet is subtly diverting our attention, making us unproductive without us even realizing.
It's insidious.
Even simple things like checking emails constantly or always refreshing your investment portfolio if you have one, that anticipation of a new message or a market shift, it's all part of this subtle manipulation, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and this raises a really important question. If our brains are wired for this anticipation, and so much of our digital world exploits that drive, what does it actually do to our ability to think long-term?
That's a huge question.
It is. And research, like Dr. Edward Banfield's studies from Harvard years ago, consistently showed that the capacity to think several years into the future while making decisions now, that's one of the most powerful predictors of success in life.
And it really feels like modern life is pushing us firmly in the opposite direction, doesn't it? Towards short-term thinking. We know we should probably eat healthy, but then we binge on sweets. We know we should study or work on that project. But Netflix, or the latest social media feed, just exerts this almost irresistible pull. It's that constant, immediate gratification that just chips away at our long-term goals.
It really does chip away. It's interesting, Steve Jobs famously limited his own kids' use of devices. And Chamath Palihapitiya, who was a former Facebook executive, he's argued quite forcefully that we need to actively remove social media from our lives. Why not rewire ourselves for long-term thinking? Because as he put it, these apps wire your brain for super fast feedback.
Super fast feedback.
Yeah.
That constant loop, the immediate gratification of likes, comments, instant replies, it conditions us to expect quick results from everything, doesn't it?
It completely distorts our fundamental view of success. It leads to these pervasive myths about get-rich-quick schemes or, overnight triumphs. We end up feeling inadequate, maybe thinking we just need to hustle harder, and we lose patience with the natural, often slow pace of real growth. But the true path to meaningful goals, it's almost never instant. It's paved with, daily consistent actions sustained over a long period of time.
Like the Amazon example you mentioned.
Exactly. Amazon famously took 9 years just to reach profitability. Why? Because Jeff Bezos made a very deliberate choice to reinvest everything for long-term foundational strength, not for those quick, immediate returns.
Okay, so pulling all of this together, what's the practical takeaway here for you, the listener? What does this mean for your daily life? It means that the very fabric of modern society, from our devices to marketing strategies, it's kind of inadvertently designed to drain your mental energy, to subtly erode your focus. And that makes it exponentially harder to do the difficult things, the things that truly matter in the long run.
And the problem often isn't a fundamental lack of discipline or willpower on your part. It's more likely a state of chronic overstimulation.
Yeah.
When you can actually get calm and focused, those major tasks suddenly don't seem quite so daunting, do they?
Not at all. Which leads us perfectly to our next focus insight, the dopamine detox itself, a path to rebalancing stimulation. If the problem is overstimulation, then the solution has to be reduction.
Simple as that, fundamentally. The solution to tackling those big, important tasks is precisely to reduce your overall level of stimulation. This is the core purpose of what's come to be known as the dopamine detox. It's the deliberate reduction of external stimulation. Why? To prevent that state of overstimulation and thereby put yourself in the proper state of mind to tackle your most important work.
Okay, now a quick but important disclaimer here, because this is where it gets a little technical maybe. Scientifically speaking, dopamine detox is?
Well, it's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not that your brain is simply flooded with too much dopamine that you need to somehow purge or get rid of. It's more subtle than that. What happens with chronic overstimulation is that it can lead to a downregulation of dopamine receptors in your brain.
Okay, downregulation. What does that mean exactly? Think of it like a dimmer switch for motivation or reward sensitivity in your brain. If that switch has been cranked up way too high for way too long by constant intense stimuli, your brain actually becomes less sensitive to normal everyday levels of stimulation. It adapts. So to feel the same level of motivation or reward from just a typical activity, you start needing an ever-increasing surge of external input, like turning the volume knob higher and higher just to hear the music.
Okay. So the detox isn't about getting rid of dopamine. It's about resetting that sensitivity, letting the dimmer switch come back down to a normal level.
Precisely. It helps reset that dimmer switch, allowing your brain to become more responsive again to natural, lower levels of dopamine. And the benefit? When your brain needs less external stimulation to feel motivated, those seemingly challenging or boring or tedious tasks, they suddenly become much more appealing. Significantly easier to actually start and tackle.
That makes a lot more sense. So the book outlines different ways to do this detox.
Yes, generally 3 main types, with varying levels of intensity. The most demanding is the 48-hour complete detox. This involves eliminating pretty much most, if not all, external stimulation. So that means no drugs or alcohol, obviously, no intense exercise, no internet, movies, music, phone use, social media, even things like sugar and processed foods are often included. Video games, too.
Wow, okay. So what can you do?
You'd engage in quiet, contemplative activities, things like gentle walks, maybe in nature if possible, journaling your thoughts, meditating, gentle stretching, or maybe reading, but specifically non-stimulating material like physical books on neutral topics.
That sounds intense. You mentioned comparing it to a Vipassana retreat earlier.
Yeah, the author draws a comparison, and your friend Nils' experience with a 10-day silent retreat really illustrates the extreme end of sensory reduction. No talking, no eye contact, no phones, reading, writing, completely silent. By comparison, 48 hours feels, well, maybe more manageable, though still a very serious commitment for most people.
Definitely. What are the other options?
Well, there's the 24-hour detox. Shorter, obviously easier to approach as an introduction, but naturally it's likely less effective in the short term. The author notes it typically takes a few days for your brain stimulation levels to really start normalizing and resetting that sensitivity.
Okay, so a quick fix might not be enough for a deep reset. And the third type?
That's the partial detox. This approach is much less demanding, but can be highly effective, especially for long-term maintenance. The focus here is on removing your single biggest source of problematic stimulation. Identify that one main culprit. For the author, he mentions it was YouTube. For someone else, it might be Instagram or news sites or online shopping. This targeted approach lets you address the most impactful distraction first, which can feel incredibly empowering and less overwhelming.
That seems really practical. Thinking about it now, which of these approaches feels most achievable for you right now listening to this? Even just identifying and tackling that one big thing. That could make a profound difference, couldn't it? Maybe for you, it's ditching the endless news cycle that kicks off your day. Or perhaps it's a particular mobile game that just eats away at your evenings. Identifying that one big lever can be really powerful. Okay, so let's move from understanding the theory to taking practical action. This brings us to Reset Principle 4, the 3-step method for a successful detox and sustained focus.
Right, so step 1 is all about identification. Clearly identify your biggest distractions. The book suggests creating 2 distinct lists: your cans, all the activities you're allowed, even encouraged to do, and your can'ts, those specific activities you absolutely need to avoid during your detox period. And a crucial question to ask yourself here is this: if I stopped doing only one thing, just one, which one would increase my focus and boost my productivity the most dramatically? That really helps you pinpoint your highest impact distraction, the one to target first.
Okay, identify the biggest drain. Makes sense. What's step 2?
Step 2, add friction. And what I find really insightful about this step is how it cleverly uses basic human psychology to our advantage. We naturally tend towards the path of least resistance, right? So if something undesirable is harder to access, you're just inherently less likely to do it.
But making it inconvenient to get distracted.
Exactly. This means practical things like removing phone notifications, turning them off completely, putting your phone in an entirely different room while you work or sleep, or using app blockers. There are tools like Newsfeed Eradicator for Facebook or DFTube for YouTube that remove the distracting feed elements. The author even shares his personal example moving his internet modem to a storage room. He literally had to go through 12 physical steps just to get it back online.
12 steps. I remember reading that and thinking, that's insane. But then I looked at my own phone, sitting right there on my nightstand every morning, and I realized maybe his insane idea was actually, well, kind of genius. Sometimes that radical inconvenience is exactly what's needed to break a really deeply ingrained habit.
It can be, yes. And conversely, you want to make your desired behaviors as frictionless as possible. Remove any barriers to doing the good stuff. So maybe leave your word processor open on your computer screen, ready to go. Put on some calming background music that helps you focus. Set a timer for your work sessions so you know there's a defined start and end. The easier and more seamless you make it to engage in the behaviors you want, the easier it is for your mind to kind of buy in and consistently follow through.
Less friction for good habits, more friction for bad ones. Got it. And step 3.
Step 3, and this one is absolutely crucial. Start first thing in the morning. Avoid that initial hit of overstimulation early in the day at all costs. Ask yourself, what's the very first thing you do when you wake up? Does it set you up for calm, focused attention? Or does it immediately throw you into instant overstimulation like grabbing your phone? The advice is to create a simple, calming morning routine. Something to quiet your mind and deepen your focus before the world intrudes. This could be meditating for just a few minutes, doing some gentle stretching, listening to relaxation music, or maybe spending 5 minutes writing down your main goal for the day or things you're grateful for. Perhaps even reciting positive affirmations if that works for you.
That first hour really sets the tone, doesn't it?
It really does. And to maintain that momentum, to truly overcome the pull of procrastination throughout the day, you need to plan your day intentionally. Clearly identify, say, 3 to 5 key tasks. Prioritize them. Which one has the greatest impact? A powerful question the author suggests is, if I could complete only one task today before taking a month off, what would that task be? Identify that major task, then commit to scheduling that single major task, ideally first thing in the morning after your calming routine. Remember, true productivity isn't really about being frantically busy. It's simply about consistent focus on the truly impactful tasks.
Consistency and impact, and
Yeah.
developing that laser-sharp focus needed to tackle these tasks. Any specific tips from the source on that?
Yes, a few good ones. First, try to be at the same place at the same time daily for your focused work. Like Stephen King's famous routine, he just sits down to write. Same time, same place, not waiting for inspiration to strike. Second, choose a consistent trigger. Something simple that signals to your brain, okay, it's focus time now, like making a specific cup of tea or lighting a candle. And then, here's the simplest, yet maybe the most challenging part. Just get started. Don't overthink it. Action, surprisingly often, generates motivation, not the other way around. You might even find yourself slipping into that highly productive flow state once you begin.
The getting started is always the hardest bit, isn't it?
It often is. Also, crucially, eliminate all distractions during your dedicated work periods. Phone off or in another room, notifications silenced, and work in uninterrupted blocks. The Pomodoro technique is popular here, maybe 25 or 45-minute blocks of pure focus, followed by short 5-10-minute breaks to reset.
Okay, that makes sense. You also mentioned something about open versus closed systems. How does that fit in?
Ah, yes. This is one of the biggest secrets, the author suggests, to overcoming procrastination. Understanding the difference between open systems and closed systems. Open systems are things like your email inbox, social media feeds, the internet generally. They continuously supply external stimuli, new information, notifications, and critically, they have no end to reach, no point at which you can ever be finished. There's always more. The result, hours can easily get wasted, and you end up in that state of persistent overstimulation.
We've all fallen into that trap, I think. You just pop onto Facebook for a second, and then an hour later, you're completely lost down some rabbit hole of unrelated videos and messages. It makes it almost impossible to then transition smoothly to actual, meaningful, focused work afterwards. What if someone's daily routine requires them to engage with an open system early on? Maybe they manage a global team, or they need to monitor breaking news for their job. Are there ways to mitigate the hijack within an open system, or is the advice really just to avoid it entirely if possible?
That's a really vital distinction and a practical challenge for many. For those who must engage with open systems, the key isn't necessarily avoid entirely, because that might be impossible. It's more about minimize and compartmentalize. You need structured engagement and really robust boundaries. So instead of just letting the feed pull you in whatever, set specific time-limited blocks for checking email or news. Use timers. Stick to them. Perhaps process emails in a more closed system way, deal with a batch, respond or archive, and then actively close the application. Don't leave it running in the background. It's really about consciously choosing when and how you engage, rather than letting the system dictate your attention flow all day.
Okay, so boundaries and time boxing within those necessary open systems.
Exactly. But ideally, especially when starting your most important task, you want to use a closed system. Closed systems are things like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, coding software, a blank notebook. Applications or environments that offer little to no room for external distractions. They essentially force you to work on your task and only on it. Yes, quit now. By starting your day whenever possible within a closed system, you avoid that initial rush of dopamine-driven overstimulation, making those challenging, important tasks feel far more manageable. Seriously, what you do first thing in the morning matters far more than most of us think. Just one tiny decision there can dramatically affect your entire day's productivity.
That's powerful. Okay, so you've done a detox, maybe a demanding 48-hour reset, or perhaps just a focused partial one targeting your main distraction. You're using closed systems. Now what? Life happens. This leads to reset principle 5, avoiding relapse and cultivating inner calm. The reality is relapse is normal, right? It doesn't mean you failed.
Not at all. It's almost inevitable at some point. Self-awareness is absolutely key here. Notice when it happens. Accept it without judgment or guilt. Try to understand what triggered it: stress, boredom, a specific situation. And then, simply restart your routine. Get back on track the next day or even the next hour. Do it one day at a time. It's a continuous practice, not a single destination you arrive at permanently.
Right. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence.
Exactly. And it can often feel like the world is against you in this effort. Marketers, social media companies, algorithms, even sometimes well-meaning friends and family. Everyone, it seems, vies for your attention. Because your focus holds immense value to others. It's worth money, engagement metrics.
Yeah.
But remember, your focus is also worth an incredible amount in terms of fulfillment, achievement, well-being to you. When you successfully reclaim and protect it, you really can transform your life quite radically. So you have a fundamental choice.
What's the choice?
You can choose to actively protect your focus by consciously building habits, routines, and systems like the ones we've discussed. Or you can remain unprepared, essentially leaving the door open, and let anyone and anything distract you whenever they please.
You absolutely have that choice. So being prepared, the book suggests having a contingency plan.
Yes. Think deeply about those specific scenarios, those triggers, where you're most likely to lose focus or succumb to distraction. Visualize them. Then mentally rehearse how you'll react productively in those moments. What's your pre-planned response? And underpinning all of this is putting a sustainable system in place. A simple, consistent daily routine that genuinely helps you stay grounded and focused day in and day out.
And beyond just avoiding the bad stuff, are there things we can actively do to cultivate calm?
Yes, absolutely. To avoid that state of perpetual overstimulation long-term, the author advises actively cultivating what he calls the here and now neurotransmitters. These are chemicals like endorphins, oxytocin, and serotonin. Unlike dopamine's anticipatory, future-oriented pull, these tend to make you feel calmer, more content, more grounded, and deeply present in the moment. They effectively counteract that restless dopamine drive.
Okay, so how do we activate those?
Through specific activities. Regular meditation practice is a big one. Just focusing on your breath or your senses, training your mind to be present. Gentle stretching is another. It relaxes the body, slows your breathing, calms the nervous system. Practicing mindfulness in everyday tasks, like truly savoring the taste and texture of your food when you eat, or being fully present and aware during mundane chores instead of letting your mind race. Contemplative walking, going for a walk specifically to observe your surroundings with all your senses as if you're seeing everything for the very first time, and engaging in deep, meaningful social interactions. Real connection with others powerfully activates oxytocin, fostering bonding and a sense of belonging, which is very calming.
Those all sound really positive. Anything else?
Yes, and perhaps surprisingly, embracing boredom. The book emphasizes that practicing doing nothing is a good way to lower your level of stimulation. We're so afraid of being bored these days, but just allowing yourself to be okay with doing nothing sometimes, simply observing your thoughts or the world around you, maybe eating a meal in complete silence without any external input like a phone or TV. That can be incredibly restorative.
Learning to be comfortable with stillness, that feels countercultural, doesn't it?
It really does. So, thinking about your own life again, what activity could you integrate into your day, maybe even just for 5 or 10 minutes, to help you stay calm and focused? Even a tiny pause can make a real difference.
Maybe the freedom you're craving isn't in doing more, but in allowing yourself to pause.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And to truly cement these changes, to really rewire your brain for lasting focus and calm, the author strongly recommends committing to a 30-day challenge. Pick 1 or 2 key habits from the detox or the focus strategies and commit to practicing them consistently for a full month. It's that consistent practice, even with small steps, that transforms intention into ingrained, powerful, almost automatic habits.
So wrapping this up, You ultimately have the choice. You can control your focus. It takes effort, yes, but it's possible. By consciously avoiding those highly stimulating activities, the ones that hijack your attention, and by implementing these simple strategies we've discussed, you absolutely can tackle your major tasks with newfound ease and clarity. And remember that key insight. Constant excitement, that dopamine chase, isn't the same as true fulfillment.
Not at all. Eliminating unnecessary external stimulation and allowing yourself to truly immerse, whether it's in meaningful work or engaging hobbies or deep relationships. That's what brings a far deeper sense of fulfillment, genuine productivity, and ultimately lasting achievement.
The power to regain control of your attention, to cultivate a healthier, more focused, and probably more satisfying life, it really is within your grasp.
One deliberate pause at a time.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through today's book. This was Bookmark, your 30-minute bookshelf summary, brought to you by BetweenThoughts. We hope it brought you clarity, calm, and a little spark of inspiration. New episodes drop regularly, so stay tuned, stay curious, and keep turning the pages one thought at a time. Until next time, take care and keep growing.